Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Hari Jamil and I am here to present General Club meeting. Topic of my presentation is prostate cancer follow-up. First of all, what are the objectives of my presentation? Rationale of follow-up, oncological follow-up, follow-up for treatment-related complications. First of all, rationale of follow-up. The rationale for following up patients is to assess immediate and long-term oncological results, ensure treatment compliance, allow initiation of further therapy when appropriate, and monitoring of side effects or complications of therapy. First of all, follow-up after local treatment. Local treatment includes radical prostatectomy and radiotherapy. Local treatment is defined as radical prostatectomy or radiotherapy or any combination of these. First, post-treatment clinic visit focuses on detecting treatment-related complications. Men with CA prostate are at increased risk of depression and attention for mental health is required. Tumor or patient characteristics may prompt changing the follow-up schedule according to the patient condition. Then how to follow up? The procedure indicated at follow-up visit vary according to the clinical situation. Prostate specific antigen level and DRE are the only tests that should be performed routinely. A disease-specific history is mandatory at every follow-up and includes psychological aspects, signs of disease progression, and treatment-related complications. Then prostate-specific antigen monitoring. PSA monitoring. Measurement of PSA is a cornerstone in follow-up after local treatment. Normal PSA values differ after radical prostatectomy or radiotherapy, but PSA recurrence almost always precedes clinical recurrence. No recent consensus exists regarding the best definition of PSA relapse after local treatment. Main aim is to establish when a PSA rise is clinically significant, since all PSA increases have the same clinical value. So you have to establish which PSA is significant according to the patient characteristic, age, and clinical condition. Then PSA monitoring after radical prostatectomy. PSA is expected to be undetectable within 6 weeks after successful radical prostatectomy. Persistently measurable PSA in a patient treated with radical prostatectomy is thought to be due to residual cancer, either micrometastasis or residual disease in the prostatic fossa. Ultrasensitive PSA assays remain controversial for routine follow-up after PSA. What is ultrasensitive PSA? Assays that can measure PSA value less than 0.01. So post-prostatectomy, ultrasensitive PSA level greater than 0.01 in combination with clinical characteristics such as ISUP grade and surgical margin status may predict PSA progression. Then after PSA monitoring after radical radiotherapy. Following radiotherapy, PSA drops more slowly as compared to radical prostatectomy. Neither less than 0.5 is associated with a favorable outcome after radical radiotherapy. The interval before reaching the nadir can be up to 3 years or more. Definition of radiation failure was proposed to establish a better correlation between definition and clinical outcome, namely an increase of greater than 2 Ng per ml above the post-treatment PSA nadir could be significant. After radiotherapy, PSA doubling time correlates with the site of recurrence. Patients with local recurrence have a PSA doubling time in less of 13 months compared to 3 months for those with distant failure. What is PSA doubling time? It is an exponential increase of PSA over a period of time. Then the digital rectal examination. Local recurrence after curative treatment is possible without a concomitant rise in PSA level. PSA measured and DRE comprise the most useful combination for first line examination in follow-up after radiotherapy, but the role of DRE was questioned since it failed to detect any local recurrence in the absence of rising PSA. In a series of almost 1100 prostatectomy patients, no local histologically proven recurrence was found by DRE alone, and PSA measurement may be the only test needed after radical prostatectomy. Then these are the other investigations for follow-up. Imaging technique have no place in routine follow-up of localized prostate cancer as long as the PSA is not rising. So we don't have to repeat imaging modality if PSA is not rising and it is static. Trust MRI guided biopsy of the prostate head, bed and urethrovesical anastomosis of the remaining prostate after radiotherapy are only indicated if detection of a local recurrence affects treatment decision. Then how long to follow up? Most patients who fail treatment for prostate cancer do so within 7 years after local therapy. That patient came with recurrence within 7 years after local treatment. Patients should be followed up more closely during the initial post-treatment period when risk of failure is highest. Follow-up is more strict in after local treatment in recent time. Prostate specific antigen measurement, disease specific history and DRE are recommended at 3, 6 and 12 months post-operatively, every 3 months thereafter until 3 years, and then annually. Whether follow-up should be stopped in case PSA remains undetected or stable after local treatment remains an unanswered question. These are the guidelines according to EUA for the follow-up of after local treatment. Routine follow-up asymptomatic patient by obtaining at least a disease-specific history PSA measurement. There should be this should be performed at 3, 6, and 12 months, and then 6 months for 3 years, and then annually. At recurrence, only perform imaging to detect local recurrence if the outcome will affect treatment planning. Only offer bone scans and other imaging modalities to men with biochemical recurrence or symptoms suggestive of progression without signs of biochemical relapse. This is the chart which shows treatment follow-up plan. This is visit to follow up every 6 months, which includes measurement of treatment side effects, management of treatment side effects, clinical inquiry, PSA, DRE is optional, and BMT, bone marrow density, every 2 years if on anti-androgen therapy. If the PSA remains stable, then this includes 6 months follow-up. If PSA not stable, so you have to tell the patient to follow up every 3 months. If the patient is on radiotherapy or brachytherapy, PSA greater than 4 or NIDAR plus 2, or after radical prostatectomy, PSA greater than 4 includes biochemical recurrence. And this should refer the patient for salvage treatment before PSA greater than 1, or for consideration of systemic therapy. Then follow up during first line hormonal treatment, androgen sensitive period. After the initiation of anti-androgen treatment, it is recommended that patients are followed at 3 to 6 months interval. This must be individualized, and each patient should be advised to contact his physician in the event of troublesome symptoms. It means follow up early if the patient has symptoms regarding disease progression. The main objectives of follow-up in these patients is A. Treatment compliance, to monitor treatment response and side effects, to guide treatment at the time of castrate-resistant prostate cancer. Now, clinical follow-up is mandatory on a regular basis, and it cannot be replaced neither by laboratory tests or by imaging modalities. Of importance in metastatic situation is to advise patient about early signs of metastatic diseases, which includes spinal cord compression, check for occult cord compression, urinary tract complication, or bone lesions that are increased fracture risk. Now, PSA follow-up after anti-androgen therapy or hormonal therapy includes PSA is a key marker for following the course of androgen-sensitive prostate cancer. A rise in PSA level usually precedes the onset of clinical symptoms by several months. Clinical progression has been reported without a rise in PSA in up to 25% of patients. That includes PSA didn't rise in 25% of patients and the diseases progress. Then a liver function test may suggest treatment toxicity but rarely disease progression. That it means treatment related complication, not a sign of disease progression of CA prostate. A decline in HB after 3 months of ADT is independently associated with shorter progression-free and overall survival rates and might explain significant fatigue. When patients complain of fatigue, you have to repeat CBC and you have to check for hemoglobin decline. That may be a cause of fatigue in this patient. Alkaline phosphatase increase secondary to bone metastasis and androgen-induced osteoporosis. Now, imaging after anti-androgen therapy follow-up, asymptomatic patient with a stable PSA level should not.
Just a minute. If you go back to the previous point, alkaline phosphatase. You see, alkaline phosphatase are actually two. One is acid labile, the other one acid stable. So whenever you talk about something which is in the context of bone metastases, it has to be acid labile. Otherwise, you will have a wrong interpretation. So what we want to stress today here is always interpret in totality, not in isolation. Yes, please.
Asymptomatic patient with a stable PSA level should not undergo imaging, as we see in after local treatment. New symptomatic bone lesion require a bone scan. Suspicion of disease progression indicates the need for additional imaging modalities, including CT scan, but further imaging will be guided by symptoms or possible subsequent treatments. Now, testosterone monitoring, which is not included in local treatment because we giving anti-androgen therapy. Testosterone monitoring should be considered part of clinical practice in men on LHRH therapy. Many men receiving medical castration will achieve a castrate testosterone level less than 20 and most probably a testosterone level less than 50 ng per dl. However, approximately 13 to 38% of patients fail to achieve this goal, and up to 24% of men may experience temporary testosterone surge during long-term treatment. A 3 to 6 month testosterone level assessment has been suggested to ensure castration is achieved and maintained. Now, this is an important topic related to anti-androgen therapy.
Go back to the previous slide. You see, if somebody asks you a question that how come you know that this patient is actually a castrate-resistant patient, you always have to look into testosterone level. If you don't look into testosterone level and it hasn't reached this point of decrement, then it is not labeled as something called castrate-resistant or androgen-resistant prostate cancer. So testosterone level has to be there again at the back of our minds whenever we want to label someone as such.
This is an important topic after anti-androgen therapy, monitoring of metabolic complication, because the most severe complication of androgen suppression are metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular morbidity, mental health problem, and bone resorption. It includes all patients should be screened for diabetes by checking fasting.
Now, what is a metabolic syndrome? Anybody from the audience?
Sir, may I? Sir, metabolic syndrome is a cluster of conditions in which there is increased blood pressure, high cholesterol, increased risk of MI, stroke, increased level of triglycerides in the blood, and increased body fat. This is a cluster basically.
Right, very good, Sana. Please continue.
All patients should be screened for diabetes by checking fasting glucose, HbA1c, in addition to checking blood lipid levels. Prior to starting anti-androgen therapy, a cardiology consultation should be considered in men with a history of cardiovascular disease and men older than 65 years. Men on enzalutamide or abiraterone acetate are at increased risk of cardiovascular problem and hypertension, and regular checks are required. Enzalutamide is identical to bicalutamide, but it has greater anti-androgen receptor affinity, and abiraterone acetate decrease intracellular testicular level, and it should be continued with prednisolone to avoid aldosteronism. Monitoring serum levels of vitamin D and calcium is important. It is suggested that routine bone monitoring should be performed every 2 years during castration or yearly if there are other associated risk factors. Patients on anti-androgen therapy should be given advice on modifying their lifestyle. Androgen deprivation therapy may affect mental health, and men with ADT are 3 times more likely to report depression. The risk to benefit ratio of ADT must be considered in patients with a higher risk of cardiovascular complications, especially if it is possible to delay starting ADT. Now, disease progression during ADT therapy. Progression of disease while undergoing ADT is defined as by the development of cancer-related symptoms or a PSA rise. In order to monitor PSA doubling time as a useful predictor of outcome, it is recommended to follow up men with on ADT with a rising PSA at least every 3 months. So we have to follow early if a PSA rise is occurring. Castrate-resistant prostate cancer patient follow-up care of CRPC patient will be guided by the type of treatment provided. Generally, PSA assessment is included in the follow-up of men treated with non-metastatic CRPC, even though clinical progression may occur without PSA progression, and regular imaging is advised. In non-metastatic CRPC, a PSA doubling time less than 3 months was associated with approximately 9-fold increased risk of metastasis. These are the guidelines for follow-up of patients on ADT. Evaluate patients at 3 to 6 months after the initiation of treatment. The follow-up strategy must be individualized based on stage of disease, prior symptom, prognostic factors, and the treatment given. In patients with stage M0 disease, no metastasis, schedule follow-up at least every 6 months. As a minimum requirement, disease-specific history, PSA, as well as liver and liver function in the diagnostic workup. In a stage 1 disease, schedule follow-up for 3 to 6 months. As a minimum requirement include FR-AX score assessment, which is a score which define fracture risk in these patients. Disease-specific history, DRE, serum PSA, hemoglobin, serum creatinine, alkaline phosphatase measurement. Testosterone, as already discussed. Counsel patient about the clinical signs suggestive of spinal cord compression. When disease progression is suspected, adapt individual follow-up according to the patient condition. In patient with suspected progression, assess testosterone level. By definition, castrate-resistant prostate cancer requires a testosterone level less than 50 Ng per dl. Do not offer imaging therapy to otherwise stable asymptomatic patient. This is the flow chart which shows patient on follow-up after ADT. If their PSA is not stable, evidence of increased disease activity includes PSA greater than 10 or PSA doubling time less than 6 months or symptomatic. Then if the patient is on ADT, hormone refractory disease, consider secondary hormonal therapy or referral for chemotherapy or salvage palliative radiotherapy. Now, the next topic is treatment-related complication. If we given localized treatment or hormonal treatment, what are the complications related to treatment-related?
Now, before going ahead into this further details of your presentation, let me pose another question, and that is a scenario. Suppose a patient comes to you with organ confined tumor and you have done all your mental exercise and the patient is selected for radical prostatectomy. Radical prostatectomy was done by open technique or by robot assisted laparoscopy, and then the patient is about to be discharged. How do you follow this patient? Sure.
Like you said, radical prostatectomy has been done and we are discharging, and definitely there will be a Foley's catheter inside. So we'll be calling him like within a week. The first to decide about the catheterization. That maximum period we have usually given a week or a 2 week post surgery, and another to remove the catheter and to check for the continence or incontinent. And another thing is to chase the biopsy report to see the specimen, the parameters, and to decide the further course about the
what you are interested in seeing in the biopsy report.
The specimen, which includes all the contents, including the seminal vesicles and things like this, and the margins, like the resection margins, which were positive, or how much away from the.
Suppose the urethral margin which you have left behind is positive on one side, and that is on the right side, and that is the area where actually your tumor was.
Yes.
You see, whenever you want to follow a patient, you also have to know what is the pre-treatment
Exactly.
position, location of the tumor.
And the grade of the.
Whether the surgeon was able to preserve the nerves or not,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Which you haven't told me.
Okay.
The second thing is, your obsession should be to look into that area which is actually marked on the specimen as well as in the pre-op setting on an MRI. And that is either right side, left side, close to the periphery, within the depths of the gland. So where is the tumor? If it is on the periphery, maybe posteriorly, maybe anteriorly, maybe on the lateral side, you have to know, you have to imagine in your mind what's happening with the patient, and that is the area where you are actually looking for, and that has got an importance. For instance, if it is positive on the urethral margin on the right side anteriorly, is it important, is it not important, is it something which you would take into consideration, into perspective? What's your take on it?
So it is definitely important. As you said, the tumor was on the right side and there are margins positive on the right side. Then we have to definitely consider. Now the things comes that like I definitely missed about the operative notes. Okay, what were the surgeon's perspective? That how much he was able to eradicate or remove the disease as a whole.
Now there comes a point where the surgeon's note is more important than somebody who is actually detached from the same team is looking after the patient,
Let's talk about-
right?
Yes.
So there has to be a communication. The problem with our community of doctors developing our skills in this kind of country that we are in, where many things are not happening regularly. So these are the cases which are rarer cases for us. Since they are not be done regularly, so we are not in a sort of a communication that has to be there, because we haven't started thinking in terms of telling my colleague that I have done this thing, take up this thing, because this is very important. For instance, if surgeon doesn't tell you that the tumor is actually palpable when he was doing it by an open technique, he can palpate it, and it is somewhere which I have said later on, then the onus is on the surgeon rather than on somebody who is not in the team. You see,
Yes, sir.
this is very important. For instance, if there was some tumor which was actually left behind, it was something which you can see on the screen, whether you are doing it robotically or open, then the onus is on the surgeon to tell somebody in the notes that this is a suspicious area. Maybe if this comes out positive, it's not a nightmare, but it is something, again, an obsession on the surgeon to put this patient as early as possible on a list called radiotherapy, right? Now, if that is the kind of follow-up which is actually surgeon motivated or regulated, then it's a teamwork. Nobody can say that I have done a radical prostatectomy and I have done 150 radical prostatectomies and all the successes are under my belt. No, that's not the case. It's a teamwork. You have to rely on radiologists. You have to rely on pathologists. Otherwise, there are many players in the team, and you will not be able to judge your position, and the success will not be there. So you see, you have to rely on the notes. You have rightly said this point. And once this thing is in the note, then your eyes is actually looking for something on the right side anteriorly where there is some suspicious area. If that is positive, then the whole thing will be on a different trajectory, rather than looking for something and saying, no, there is nothing and everything is okay, there is negative surgical margin, the patient can go about maybe 3 months down the line, he can come to us and we'll do PSA and see what's happening. That shouldn't be the case. If that is the case, then we'll be losing a lot. And the world is moving in that direction. It has already moved. We are just following the whole world. Right? Please continue.
Yes. Surgery, the absence of standardization in reporting surgical complications for radical prostatectomy and the introduction of different techniques have resulted in a wide variation in the type of complication reported. The most common post-operative issue is erectile dysfunction, but other related issues to consider include dry ejaculation, which occurs with removal of the prostate, change in the quality of orgasm, and occasional pain on orgasm. The second most commonly occurring complication is long-term incontinence, but voiding difficulties may also occur associated with bladder neck contracture. For those men who undergo minimally invasive surgery, post-site hernia has been reported in 0.6%. Then per-operative bladder neck management, bladder neck mucosal inversion. Some surgeons perform...
It's not inversion, it is eversion.
Eversion, sorry. Some surgeons perform mucosal eversion of the bladder neck as its own step in open radical prostatectomy in the aim of securing a mucosa to mucosa vesico-urethral anastomosis and avoiding anastomotic stricture. Then bladder neck preservation. While the majority of urinary continence is maintained by the external urethral sphincter at the membranous urethra, a minor component is contributed by the internal sphincter at the bladder neck. Preservation of the bladder neck has therefore been proposed to improve continence recovery post-radical prostatectomy. Bladder neck preservation should be performed routinely when the cancer is distant from the base of the bladder neck preservation, however, cannot be performed in the presence of a large median lobe or a previous TURP. Then urinary catheter. A catheter is routinely placed during radical prostatectomy to enable bladder rest and drainage of urine while the vesico-urethral anastomosis heals. Compared to a traditional catheter duration of around 1 week, some centers remove the transurethral catheter early, that is around 2 to 3 days, usually after the anastomosis with posterior reconstruction or in patients selected perioperatively on the basis of anastomosis quality. That is, perioperatively, if we check water test and leak, so we can remove Foley's in 1 week. Erectile dysfunction. The notion of erectile dysfunction can be defined as the inability to achieve and maintain an adequate erection for a satisfying sexual contact. Mean age of the patient diagnosed with prostate cancer has decreased over the last decade due to the early detection by PSA screening, and that life expectancy has increased. Importance of post-operative erectile recovery has significantly increased. Erectile dysfunction. There are three main important factors in the recovery of erectile function after radical prostatectomy. Patient's baseline erectile function, which should be calculated before the surgery. Patient's factors: age, diabetes, obesity, alcohol, smoking, chronic kidney disease or liver disease or cardiovascular. Ability to preserve intraoperatively both neurovascular bundles will significantly improve erectile function after radical prostatectomy. Erectile dysfunction. Post-operative penile rehabilitation should be introduced as soon as possible after surgery to prevent fibrosis. Penile rehabilitation implies any form of treatment or combination of treatment that will lead to the recovery of the erectile function, similar to the preoperative baseline erectile function. In the first months after radical prostatectomy, patient will not able to have spontaneous nocturnal erections despite the treatment applied. It is estimated that recovery of a satisfying sexual function will be achieved in 12 to 24 months after surgery with the help of a penile rehabilitation program. Therapeutic approaches used in post-radical prostatectomy erectile dysfunction. The most common treatment used in post-radical prostatectomy erectile dysfunction is the phosphodiesterase type 5 inhibitors, which is considered the first line treatment. This is followed by intracavernous injection, vacuum erection devices, and the penile prosthesis implant. Now the side effects of radiotherapy. Side effects of external beam radiotherapy. Man treated with EBRT and 6 months of ADT report bowel toxicity, including persistent diarrhea, bowel urgency, incontinence, and rectal bleeding. A systemic review and meta-analysis of observational studies comparing patient exposed or unexposed to radiotherapy in the course of treatment of prostate cancer demonstrates an increase in the developing of second cancer of bladder, colorectal, and rectum with similar risk over. It should be considered if the patient's life expectancy is increased, there will be a chance of second malignancy after radiotherapy. Side effects from brachytherapy. Some patients experience significant urinary complication following implantation, such as retention. Post implantation TURP reported as being required in up to 8.7% of cases. Incontinence. Previous TURP for BPH increases the risk of post implantation incontinence and urinary morbidity. These are the guidelines I discussed earlier. Then hormonal therapy side effects. Sexual function. Cessation of sexual activity is very common in men undergoing ADT, affecting up to 93% of men. ADT reduces both libido and the ability to gain and maintain erection. The management of acquired ADT is mostly non-specific. Hot flushes are a common side effect of ADT. They appear 3 months after starting ADT, usually persist long term and have a significant impact on quality of life. Estrogen receptor modulators or low dose estrogen therapy reduce the frequency and severity of hot flushes. Both treatment carry a risk of cardiovascular complications. Now, non-metastatic bone fraction. It is important because due to increased bone turnover and decreased bone mineral density in a time-dependent manner, ADT use is linked to an increased risk of fracture. Hip fracture in men are associated with a significant risk of death. A precise evaluation of bone mineral density should be performed by dual emission X-ray absorptiometry DEXA before starting long-term ADT. Bicalutamide monotherapy may have less impact on BMD but is limited by its suboptimal efficacy. Then metabolic factors affects lipid alterations are common. ADT also decreases insulin sensitivity and increases fasting plasma insulin levels, which is a marker of insulin resistance. The prevalence of metabolic-like syndrome is higher during ADT compared with men not receiving ADT. The skeletal muscle heavily influences basal metabolic rate and is in turnover heavily influenced by endocrine pathways. Then cardiovascular morbidity is a common cause of death in prostate cancer patients. Several studies showed that ADT after only 6 months was associated with increased risk of diabetes, cardiovascular disease and myocardial infarction. Consensus results in an FDA warning and consensus paper from the American Heart Cancer Association and urological associations. Preventive advice includes non-specific measures such as weight loss, increased exercise, improved nutrition, and smoking cessation.
Just conclude your presentation.
Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that count.
So it is very important again, just to summarize the whole topic, to understand that it's again, I'm repeating myself, it's a teamwork, and whatever the person who is actually doing the post-operative follow-up is doing is actually on the premise that something is written in the operative notes. So the operative notes are very important, and the whole process has to be guided by the surgeon who is doing the procedure or the treatment of the prostate, because most of the treatment of prostate, whether it is subcapsulocoectomy or it is radical prostatectomy, is actually guided by the surgeon first and then by medical oncologist and the radiation oncologist later. So it is very important to recognize and accept your position as somebody who is leading the whole process, and that is the surgeon. So you are all surgeons. You must realize your own position and guide your colleagues who are your juniors, so that everything should be in correct perspective. Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve anything in life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.